Good morning, everyone. Welcome to a few days before the new year, 2018. Can you believe we're already into 2018? Wow. Good morning, live streamers. We're happy to have you with us this morning. And thank you for showing up the way you do. You're the largest part of our audience. You know, last week there were about 120 people watching live, and that's amazing. That's half the size of this church that we're in. And by the end of the week, 500 people, 500 to 1,000 people watch this every week. So thank you guys for supporting us with your presence and also with your financial contributions. That's on our website. If you go to the donate button, you get inspired to support the ministry of the Teachers of God Foundation. We welcome you. And I just want to say how much we just love sharing this, the truth, you know, from right here. We get to share the truth with all of you guys that come physically in this summer weather that we have today. I woke up this morning and it was -8 degrees. And then I thought, should I go get in a hot tub? -8's pretty cold. And I did. I went out, got in the hot tub, and when you go in a hot tub at -8, you set your coffee cup down. When you go to pick it up again, it's frozen to the whatever you set it on. And like I go in the buff, so I take everything off. I have a hook, and I get in, and for that little like 10 seconds that I'm in the buff, it's really cold. So the contrast of getting into the water is like, whoo, yeah. The other thing that happens is that any steam that's coming up that gets on anything instantly freezes it. But it's a great experience. It's what I look forward to in living in New England. It's the plus for being in -8 degree weather. But welcome everyone for being here. And I want to give a few announcements that this is rolling in the new year, 2018, and there's all these cool things that are available online. Everybody's got some kind of a new program that is available, and Jimmy's got his. Lisa has the 365, the ACIM 365, which is awesome. It's on the Teachers of God website, and I have just done the audios, or I'm working on the audios for all the workbook lessons from the CE edition and the cameos, and you can go to billfree.com and you can access the registration page so that you'll be signed up for receiving all of those. And we have the 40-day program that's always available. If you have anyone that you know that it really could use a boost in 2018, send them a link to the Teachers of God website. Go to events and go to the 40-day program. Send them the link to the page for the 40-day program, and just give them a new year, a way of just meeting the new year by listening to the videos, or watching the videos, and doing the 40-day with Lisa Natoli, and having a transformation experience that we've all experienced. Everyone in here that I know has taken the 40-day program, and most of you guys online have taken it. So if you think a friend could use that, send them a link to it, and that'll be great. And then one more thing, we have 6 or 7 tickets left at the discount for the San Francisco conference in February. The price goes up to, I think, $649 for your ticket on January 1st, and ours are $499. So you can go to the website and also find your tickets there. And what else? You go to the Teachers of God website, and you can find our other programs, True Prosperity, the Living in Purpose, and also you can register and sign up for our weekly video blogs. And I'm going to bring Becky Johnson up because Bonnie remembered something that we posted a couple of years ago, which is the message that Jesus gave to Helen in 1966 like New Year's Eve. And so this is a New Year's Eve message via Becky Johnson, via Helen, via Jesus. So here it is. Welcome, Becky. I love you. I'm so happy that you're in the house.
Thanks, Bill. I'm blessed to be included in a sentence with all those names. Who would have ever known? Didn't even hear of Helen Schucman 4 years ago, and now I'm in the same sentence with her. This is just, I'll just read this kind of verbatim. We want to share with you this passage from Helen Schucman received from Jesus on New Year's Eve, 1966. So do the math. How many years ago was that?
52.
59? That's Lisa. She's really good at Course in Miracles. Okay. This is the time in which a new year will soon be born from the time of Christ. I have perfect faith in you to do all that you would accomplish. Now remember, this is Jesus speaking to Helen. Say then to your brother, I give you to the Holy Spirit as part of myself. I know that you will be released unless you want to use you to imprison myself. In the name of my freedom, I choose your release because I recognize that we will be released together. So will the year begin in joy and freedom. Make this year different by making it all the same. And let all your relationships be made holy for you. And for all the people who want to know where that's at, it's text 15. I'm not very good with Roman numerals. X1, would that be 11? Yeah. Probably paragraph, section 10, 1, 2, 4, 8, 11, and 12. You'll find a bunch of stuff there. But being in the new year, I have something that I'd like to read really quick. And this is why we want the CE edition. Okay, so this is called The Branch in the Road. Chapter 17, 1X. 9. I'm getting better. Robert Perry included this in his version of the course because he found this written in the notes and it was in no book anywhere. He couldn't find it. And he didn't know where else to put it, so here it is. And it's called The Branch in the Road. Lisa has spoke of the branch in the road before in some of her teachings. When you come to the place where the branch in the road is quite apparent, you cannot go ahead. You must go one way or the other. For now, if you go straight ahead, the way you were going before you came to the branch, you will go nowhere. The whole purpose of coming this far, this is hard to do, is to decide which branch you will take from here. The way you came no longer matters. It can no longer serve. No one who reaches this far can make the wrong decision, but he can delay. And there is no part of the journey that seems more hopeless and futile than standing where the road branches and not deciding which way to go. It is only the first few steps along the right way that seem hard because you have chosen, but you still think you can go back and make the other choice. This is not so. A choice made with the power of heaven to uphold it cannot be undone. Your way is decided. There will be nothing you will not be told if you acknowledge this. And a part of this is his commentary. His commentary is, I don't know, kind of beyond words. I don't think I can read the whole thing because it's his commentary. But he talks that this is the shortest section in the CE text. It's a personal message to Helen, Bill, or both. He's not sure who it was. He just found the notes. It doesn't fit the text material that was dedicated at the same time. It's not in iambic pentameter, as is the text at that point in chapter 28. So it's not originally part of the text, but it's also not like the other personal messages to Helen and Bill, in that there is no reference to any concrete situation in their lives. With its arresting image, it's crying out to be included in the course. So the bottom line is, when you're in the branch in the road and you're standing there, kind of where a lot of us are, you already know where you're going. So just take that step and start going. Happy New Year to all. Thanks for giving me the time.
Thank you.
There we go. Thank you.
Awesome. I am very grateful that Bonnie brought Becky to us. Becky she's just a great inspiration, and I love her very much. And before I introduce our teacher and speaker today, Kelly Russell, I just want to say that you guys that know Kimberly Cartwright, she'll be here next week, and I want to just make a point of letting everyone here and you live streamers know that. And there was a vote last week, and I also got a few messages after last week's meeting because of the vote, where we invited you guys with a poll to the guys online to determine whether we start at 10:30 and you're included in all of this, or we start at 10:45 and we do the introduction first before we go live. And the majority of the folks said just start it at 10:30, and the ones that don't want to go through that, they can start their video on their whatever they're watching at 10:45, and everyone gets what they want. So we decided to keep it at 10:30, and that's what we're going to do. And thank you guys for participating in that. And now it's time, before I introduce Kelly, it's time for us to do our meet and greet. And so if you guys would like to rise and meet and greet each other, and live streamers, we'll be right back. Well, it is my joy to introduce our speaker today. And you guys that watch her blogs, I just have to say, when I shoot all of Kelly's video blogs, and it's just such a joy to shoot a video blog with Kelly, because she just comes in. It's almost like, she's one of these personalities, one of these people that has a show every day, and they just sort of, I know Bonnie's going to get me for coming out of the camera, but they just sort of show up and they're ready to go and they go bam. Well, Kelly does that. When I shoot a video with Kelly, I set the camera up and I just go like that, and she just nails it. She just nails it. She does it every single time. She's amazing. But the other thing about Kelly is she's very grounded. She really has an intuitive, knowing presence, and she's very wise. When Lisa and I first met Kelly, we were going through the chaplain training here at Unity on the River, and this person that we had to see, it was part of the requirement, is we needed to go through a training with a grieving counselor, and Kelly Russell showed up as our trainer for the grieving counseling session, and she gave us just really great information to know and to hold and to honor when people are going through a grieving process. And when you're a chaplain, you don't know what you're going to find. You don't know what someone's situation is going to be. So it was really great to have that training from Kelly. She's an expert in that field. She's a therapist. She's a minister. She's a public speaker. And she's our friend. And she's also a director on the Teachers of God Foundation. We invited her a few years ago to join us that way. And she's just amazing. So everyone, please give a warm welcome to Kelly Russell.
Is it on? Yeah, right. No pressure, right? Thank you so much, Bill, for that lovely, lovely introduction. I really appreciate it. And thank you, Becky, for the reading that you chose, both of the readings that you chose, one of which I was actually going to do. So that just proves that all minds are joined, and that, that's part of what the talk is about today. I'm going to talk about making all of our relationships holy in the new year. Does anybody, I know that there's no such thing as time, and time's an illusion and all that, but is anybody is ready to let go of 2017 as I am? Yay! So I talked the other day in the blog that I did about there being only one New Year's resolution that we really need to make, and that is making the commitment to have a relationship with Spirit. And that takes care of everything else. And so today I'm going to talk more about actually making all of our relationships holy. So I want to start by reading an awesome section in the CE edition of the Course in Miracles. I know you hear a lot about this edition, the purple book from us here, edited by the Circle of Atonement, and it's just great. It's like the exploding Course in Miracles, because you just read it and then it gives you so much more information, and it's I just think it's much more relatable, and it draws me in. Yeah. And so I love this part where he talks about, this is in chapter 16, looking at the special relationship. And it says, this year, determine not to deny what has been given you by God to use for him. He has himself reminded you of him. Awake and share it, for that is the only reason he has called to you. His voice has spoken clearly, and yet you have so little faith in what you heard, because you have preferred to place still greater faith in the disaster you have made. Today, let us resolve together to accept the joyful tidings that disaster is not real, and that reality is not disaster. Reality is safe and sure and wholly kind to everyone and everything. There is no greater love than to accept this and be glad. For love asks only that you be happy and will give you everything that makes for happiness. You have never given any problem to the Holy Spirit he has not solved, nor will you ever do so. You have never tried to solve anything yourself and been successful. Is it not time you brought these facts together and made sense of them? This is the year for the application of the ideas that have been given you. For the ideas are mighty forces to be used and not held idly by. They have already proved their power sufficiently for you to place your faith in them and not in their denial. This year, invest in truth and let it work in peace. Have faith in what has faith in you. Think what you have really seen and heard and recognize it. Can you be alone with witnesses like these?
Kelly, will you tell where you were reading out of?
Yes, I was reading chapter 16, which is looking at the holy relationship. And it is in section 2, which is the power of holiness. And in this edition, it's on page 528. Yeah. So I just love that. And it gives me such hope for the new year. So to me, there are 3 components when I was thinking about making all of our relationships holy. There are three seemingly different types of relationships that, in my mind, we need to work on in order to have them all work and for us to be happy. And so the first relationship that we need to work on, and I say make it holy, it is a holy relationship already, but it's getting ourselves aware of the holiness in it. And so that is the relationship between ourselves and God. And so how do we do that? How do we get our relationship with God so that it is recognizably holy to us? I know for a lot of people, myself included, until a few years ago, my relationship with God was sort of just there. I didn't really do anything with it. I didn't really spend a whole lot of time consciously with it. I mean, I've been a Course in Miracles student for 15 years, but I didn't do anything really purposeful with that relationship. And so I was thinking when I was preparing for this talk about if I were to take care of any other of my relationships, the way that I took care of my relationship with God. So it was just kind of there. Yeah, I didn't really do much consciously with it. I reached out when I was maybe having a problem. I didn't really sit down and have a conversation. Wasn't really that present. I mean, I think about, well, what would happen to a relationship if that's what you did? How would that work? Yeah, Bill's going like this. Yeah. And so the most important relationship that we have in our lives, and that is how we may be sort of taking care of it. So how can we really take care of that relationship? Well, so to me, the first thing is being present. So being present in that relationship. And so being present in the relationship with God, to me, starts out in the morning. For some people, if you're not morning people, maybe it starts out right before you go to bed at night. And it starts with spending time. So presence and spending time. And so I remember when I started studying, I think it was when the 40-day program with Lisa Natoli. It was either that or the Living in Purpose program. And she talked about spending like an hour with God. And I was like an hour? What? Like, where am I going to get an extra hour from? I mean, I'm going to have to find like the 25th hour in the day. Like, how's that going to work? I got to go to, I have to sleep. I have to go to the gym. I have to get up and I have to have my coffee. I have to do this and that and shower and blah, 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 blah. I have to go to work and I have to work all day and da, 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 da. And that was just my ego mind, that was my ego mind saying, yep, you don't have time to spend with God. So forget that. She's full of, no, that's not going to work. And of course, she was absolutely right. And that when I started to do a deeper study, when I started to do the 40-day program, when I did the Living in Purpose program, those programs, if you're doing what they say, you are going to be led to be spending more time in relationship with Spirit consciously. And so what I'm advising and what I do now is I do spend somewhere between 30 minutes and an hour in the morning. And so I start with, and this is, if you read the blog that I wrote this week, I attached a document to the end of it that essentially kind of goes through the process that I go through in the morning. But I spend time, if I'm reading the Course in Miracles, this year I've committed to, I started a few months ago, actually I started right around the time that you and Lisa both started reading the Course again, the CE edition. Reading it word for word, reading all the footnotes. When the footnotes say to go read a cameo, I go read the cameo and then I come back to the footnotes. So really reading it in a way that I haven't really read it before. So that's part of my practice. The daily prayer is part of my practice, and the intentions for the day that I talked about in the blog. And so that is part of how I give my presence to Spirit. The blog that I did at the beginning of the Christmas season, where I had an MP3 attached to it that had a meditation on it, is another practice that I do that is, it's like the form of prayer that you find in the supplement to the Course in Miracles, the Song of Prayer. And that practice is about going within and finding that altar within yourself, within your mind, and putting everything on the altar that you think needs to happen in order for you to be happy or at peace, and releasing it all. And then just going into communion with God and just being, just listening. Bill calls it presence or awareness, and just not expecting anything. I was talking to, I have some clients that I counsel about this, do spiritual counseling with, and I was talking to someone yesterday and she was saying, but I don't hear anything. And I said, but that's okay. You don't have to hear anything in the moment. Just be there, just listen, just be present. And your answers will come to you. Your answers will, every prayer is answered. So your answers to whatever you've put on that altar will come to you. But as the Course tells us, those are the harmonics and the overtones, that the song itself is the prayer, and it's your presence. And so being present with God and giving time to that relationship, and listening, maybe you're reading A Course in Miracles, or you're listening to one of the Teachers of God programs, and maybe things are occurring to you and you're writing in a journal, or you're taking notes on the Course, or you're contemplating whatever it is you're reading. That's all spending time with Spirit. It doesn't all only have to be in silent communion, but it's giving time and energy and effort to that relationship, to the most important relationship that you have. And in doing that, that is going to improve all of the other relationships that you have. When you do that, and many of you probably do that, but when you spend time on that relationship and making that relationship, recognizing the holiness in it and reclaiming the holiness in it, then all of your relationships have to transform. There's no way that they can't. And so the next relationship that you want to spend time with, that we want to make into a holy relationship, and I think this is one where a lot of people really struggle. Anybody want to take a guess at it?
So,
Right, exactly. The self, the relationship with yourself. And so the relationship with yourself, how does anybody work on that? How do you guys work on the relationship with yourself? Anybody have anything that you do?
I do it with the practice that you just said. You spend an hour in the morning. That's where that relationship changes, because as I draw close to what I really am, that space of presence, everything changes for me. I get clear. I get I feel confident. I'm happy, and then everyone that I meet, that leaks onto them when I do that.
Yeah, it does. Thank you. Anybody else? Irene and Dave?
For me, it started years and years and years ago with writing letters in the morning to God. And when getting in that conversation, when I began to realize I'm speaking to the core of me. And I didn't have those words for it. I just had the feeling of it. So when you say the holy relationship, I always see the WHOLE, the whole relationship.
Love
I
that.
can't see those, but I was feeling it, but I didn't have language for it. And then the more I got into 12 steps, and then the more I got into unity, and then here, the language started to come to me. But the sense of, it was a sense of completeness that I started to have. That I was grounded in something that I couldn't label. And of course, I would have never in those days had given myself permission to use God and me in the same words. God had to be somewhere outside.
Yeah.
And whatever I was talking to inside was something different. But the more I journaled to it, which is, it could just be for a few minutes. It didn't have to be like for hours or anything. So like Bill said, doing that hour practice, but it's definitely been an evolution.
Yeah. Thank you.
I just would like to share that my relationship with myself is really built on the lessons of forgiveness. Probably the biggest teaching in the Course is, I share with Bill. Actually, I was there when I heard your favorite lesson was, I am as God created me. I had internalized that. Then I heard you. And that to me was so liberating, because if I am as God created me, that means all the stuff that I've done wrong in my life, which is a long list, I can let go and forgive myself. And so pretty much on a daily basis, as I trip up and do things, I keep reminding myself, you're innocent.
Yeah.
And Jesus tells us in the Course, you are. You know, your problem has been that you've been holding yourself as guilty.
Yes.
And that is where all the problems arise from. So for me to have a clear relationship with self is to always be reminded of that forgiveness.
Thank you. Anyone else over here? Thank you. Over here? Yeah. Monica, and then pass to Lisa.
Everybody wants to talk. So for me, it's really just checking in with myself a lot. Like, what do I want? How am I feeling? How am I doing? And if I have fear thoughts or attack thoughts come in, which I do, I really have to look at them and challenge them. And so I ask, is it true? I do the four questions. But I realize that as I'm doing it, it becomes sort of an interesting thing, because the more you do it, the more you just, every time you have a crazy thought, your mind already goes to, is it true? So you don't have to work it so hard.
Yeah.
It's just like, oh, I'm thinking the fear thought, it's not true.
Right.
And then it lifts off, so it's really about a couple of seconds, a couple of minutes, I have a fear thought. Okay, let's look at that for a second. And it really doesn't take time. It's a matter of willingness, because if you think about it, you're doing everything with the mind of God. Mm-hmm. You can't be separate. There's no separation. And so that God mind is always working you to recognize that and to accept your innocence. Mm-hmm. So thanks.
Yeah, thank you. Lisa.
Yeah, thank you, Kelly. I mean, the way you described the relationship with God, and to think about the way we treat other people, if we were treating our relationships with other people that way, only going to them when we need help,
Right.
like really ignoring them, it would fall apart. In my relationship with myself, I had the same revelation of, like, if I treated someone the way I treated myself, they would not want to be near me at all. The self-hatred, the judgment, the blame, the attack. And so that's just a really good analogy to really look, would I treat someone else the way I treat myself with my private thoughts? No, never.
Yeah.
And so it's almost a good idea to just start almost to verbalize it.
Yeah.
Like to even verbalize your private thoughts for a moment and go, oh my God,
Mm-hmm.
are you kidding me? Like I think this way about myself.
Yeah.
And to me, it's like, it's in that awareness that you really just go, okay, that's enough of that.
Yeah.
And coming back to a place of total appreciation, total respect, total honor. I love what you said about the only real resolution is to have a relationship with spirit. And that to me was the beginning of my own change, is that I'm going to love myself. End of story.
Thank you.
I had my hand
Go
raised.
ahead.
I'm sort of mirroring what everybody else said, but for me, really just sort of taking responsibility for how I see other people and for the thoughts, the uncomfortable thoughts that I have that keep me thinking I'm little, and really taking that to the Holy Spirit to help me reinterpret who I think I am above what I see with my eyes. And when I look at you or you or you or you, what I'm thinking shows me exactly who I think I am. So I really use all of those opportunities to help to pray for my thoughts to be transformed.
Awesome. Thank you. Oops, I'm actually, here. How many microphones do I really need, right? Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for what you said. Again, all minds are joined. And so as you're talking, some of you, you're saying the things that I was thinking as well. And so I just love that, how we're reflecting and we're all coming to the same realizations at the same time. And so I want to go back to something that you said, Lisa, because that's where I was intending to go with this, and that. So we talked about if we treat our relationship with God the way that we would treat another relationship that we expect to be successful, that we expect, that we hope is going to work out, it probably wouldn't, because the person would be like, thanks a lot, but you know what, you're just not present, and you're not here, and you're not spending enough time with me, and you don't really act like you care about me, and I don't really feel very loved by you, and I feel like you're just, you pay attention to everything else except me, and have I said that before in relationships? Yeah, I think that I have. And so thanks God for not saying that to me. Thanks for hanging in there. And so then the same thing applies, as Lisa said, the relationship with ourselves. So when we think about how do we treat ourselves in relationship, and again, going back to that same analogy, so how do you is the way that you treat yourself the way that you treat someone else when you're in a relationship with them that you are hoping to have work out? Is the way that you treat yourself in relationship the way that you want to be treated in relationship by someone else? So how do we spend time with ourselves? How are we present with ourselves? How are we nice to ourselves? And I find myself saying the meanest things to myself sometimes, or what usually happens is it's shock. It's when I go unconscious, right? If I'm all worked up about something, or I'm all anxious, or I'm in too big of a hurry, and I have too many things to do. I think I just described the entire Christmas season for myself. and I'm going 100 miles an hour. And I can hear my thoughts. You're going to be late. This is just the way I roll. It's pretty much always the thought. But you're going to be late, or you're not going to get everything done, or your house is too messy, or what are people going to think, or what? And then it's this. You're not organized enough. See, this is what happens. You should have been more organized. You should have done things, but way before now. You're doing stuff at the last minute. You're putting stuff off. And all of these like judgmental and critical and mean thoughts. And then I will find myself, I will wake up to that. I'll start to hear it, and it'll just be like this mean voice. And I'll pat myself on the chest and just be like, you're okay. You're okay. You know what? You're okay. You're fine. You're a beloved child of God. You are okay. You're doing the best you can. You need to breathe. You need to calm down. It's going to be okay. Everything is going to get done. And then I'll ask Spirit, please create divine order in all aspects of my life. That is one of the most powerful prayers, one of the most powerful things you can do for the relationship with yourself. Because what I find when I ask for divine order to be created in all aspects of my life, that it does. And it is way more organized than I could ever think about being. And I don't think of myself as a very organized person. And yet things will start to work. They'll start to, this thing gets canceled, but then this thing comes in, and this person calls and they can't make it. This client says they can't make it, but then I call this one, and good, because she's been waiting for an appointment. And all of these things just start to click into place. And it works out better for me. And again, it's because I'm asking. So creating the happier relationship, the more holy relationship with ourselves is about asking. So again, it goes back to talking to Spirit, right? You're gonna find out that this is a circular journey. Making your relationship better with God is going to make your relationship better with yourself, and making your relationship better with yourself is going to make your relationship better with other people, and making your relationship better with other people is going to make your relationship better with God. And it's going to be a very circular endeavor. So another thing that I want to touch on is what you said, Linda, or what you also said, Monica, about thinking about what your thoughts are. Noticing what your thoughts are. This is both working on the relationship with yourself, but it also segues into working on the relationships with other people and making those relationships holy. Taking responsibility for your thoughts and figuring out what your thoughts are, because what we notice, and as Bill said, I'm a psychotherapist, and so I work a lot with people who have a lot of they come in because of the way they feel. They're not coming in because of the way they think. They're coming in because of the way they feel. They feel anxious, they feel depressed, they feel like their relationships aren't working out, whatever it is. But where we have to go with it is, what are your thoughts? What are your thoughts? What are you believing to be true about yourself? Because people think that feelings just happen in a vacuum. Like, I just feel depressed. I just feel anxious or fearful. I feel bummed out. I feel like I'm going 100 miles an hour, whatever it is. And it's not that. It's the thought. But our thoughts are so unconscious sometimes that we just connect to the feeling. We don't connect to the thought that comes before the feeling. And so that's what I loved what you said, Monica, about doing Byron Katie's work about the 4 questions. Any kind of, the Course in Miracles, it says the same thing, that you have to be examining your thoughts. You have to look at what your thoughts are. Lisa's programs, the first thing she says is, watch your thoughts like a hawk. So when someone's talking to me about feeling a certain thing, we go right to, okay, but what's the thought? What's the belief? What's the thought? What's the belief? Somebody's all upset because their partner has decided to leave them. And when we finally dig down through all of the feelings that they think they're having around it, the belief is they're afraid they're going to be alone. And that's where all of the emotion is coming from, right? So being able to look at what your thoughts are about things. When you find yourself feeling something, when you find yourself feeling a negative emotion, don't let it stop there.
When you said that about being alone, don't you think that's more like feeling like nobody's ever going to love you?
Well, I think that it's also that.
Sorry.
Will you repeat what I said?
Yes. So Bonnie said when people are afraid that they're going to be alone, doesn't that sort of mean they're afraid nobody's ever going to love you? I think the two go hand in hand, and people say both to me. And I think that they're universal fears. I think that, and actually, I'm going to just segue here for a second and say that I think that they're universal fears that go back to our very deep fear that we are alone and that nobody does love us. And where does that feeling come from? That feeling comes from our feeling of separation, our belief in separation. And if we didn't believe that we were separate from God, then we would never believe that we could ever be alone. And we would never believe that no one is going to love us, right? So that is part of working on the relationship with the self too, is going back and remembering that there is no separation. I'm not separate from God. God is not separate from me. I'm never alone. And so that's the relationship with myself, is finding the God within myself. And how do I do that? By examining my thoughts and seeing that they're false, by remembering that I'm not separate, and by treating myself in the same way that I would treat somebody that I truly loved, that I wanted to have a better relationship with, that I was hoping to have a future with. Treat yourself in the way that you would if you wanted to have a future with yourself, right? So then we come to the relationship with another person. And I'm just going to preface this by saying there is no relationship with the self, and there is no relationship with another person, because the only relationship is with God, because we are part of God, and that's who we are, and we're all one, and there is no separation. So these other things that I'm talking about are just to help us get along in this ego world dream where we think we are, but really we're all just part of God. So having said that, the relationship with other people in our lives, and making those relationships holy this year. So first, to look at what keeps those relationships from being holy. So what keeps your relationships with other people from being holy?
Judgment. Judgment,
judgment.
fear,
You can just pass it around a little bit. Anybody want to throw a word in there? What keeps our relationships with others from being holy? We have judgment on the table. Fear.
Using them as our source for our happiness.
Using them as the source for our happiness. Neediness, is that what we said? Mhm. Expectation.
What's so funny over there?
sit down.
Anybody else want to say anything? Did you have something to say?
No.
What keeps? You already said a lot today. You did.
I want to credit Eliza Goodell from the Sunday Course in Miracles group who gave us this acronym JADE, Jade, and the kind of things that tell me that I'm in the wrong place and that I'm choosing wrongly, or if I think I need to justify, attack, defend, or explain.
Nice. Woohoo! I love it.
Yeah. I can't add to that except I would
Except you're going to.
except I'm going to. Just, I mean, everything that I think is happening where I think that someone else is doing something wrong is just a projection of something that I can't see in myself. So, and that's anything that I have a problem with
That's right.
or a preference to.
Right? Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Oh, you can hold on to that, actually. So thank you for all that you said, because that's what keeps our relationships from being holy. We have judgment, we have justification, we have expectation, we have criticism, we have my needing you to be a certain way in order for me to be happy. We have my needing you to fulfill certain roles in my life.
Someone wrote victim.
Victim, yep, good one. Very good, thank you to live streamer, whoever you are. And so those are the things that keep our relationships from being holy. And so the holy instant is what is talked about in the Course in Miracles as being the time at which, the period of time, which is like a little nanosecond, where we switch from being in any of those states of consciousness or energy fields that I just talked about to being in a holy relationship. It takes one instant. It's a holy instant in which you change your mind, and it happens just like that. And so when you find yourself, as you find yourself, and we all do in this ego world, as you find yourself being in judgment or being in criticism or feeling all boo-boo kitty or feeling like a victim or, being pissed off or whatever it is, that it takes 1 nanosecond to change your mind and say, wait a second. And so what the Course in Miracles says in that instant is you can ask yourself one question. What do I want to come of this? And when you ask yourself, what do I want to come of this? If you're in your sane mind, what you want to come of this is peace. And so if I want peace to come of this, then I need to get off of all of this judgmental, negative, crap that I've been thinking and change my mind over from fear to love. So I need to change my mind to what I want to come of this is I want to have peace with this person. And so is my staying on this trajectory of whatever I'm doing over here going to bring me to peace? Is arguing with them going to bring me to peace? Is wanting them to be the way I want them to be, wanting them to change, wanting them to fulfill some need lack that I perceive that I have? Is any of that going to bring peace? No, it isn't. Believe me, I've tried. I have 2 husbands and a bunch of relationships and stuff like that to kind of, as my resume, to prove that doesn't work. So I know what I'm talking about. So what does work is in that instant where we are shifting from fear to love, when I want to have a holy relationship, that I say, okay, I'm going to stop doing that. And the first thing I'm going to do, because this is what the Course talks about doing, is its primary tool to get yourself to that holy relationship, is something Dave said, is practicing forgiveness. Practicing forgiveness whenever your peace is disturbed. So finding that whatever that thought is, whatever that judgmental belief that you're having, or thing that you're wanting the other person to do, or whatever the conflict is, and looking at your thoughts about it and saying, I forgive you. I forgive you because I remember that there is nothing to forgive. I remember that I am dreaming an illusion that the ego mind made up. I forgive myself for dreaming this illusion. I ask Spirit to help me see this differently, to change my mind, to heal my thoughts and perceptions. And I release you and this situation to Spirit to be healed. And the more that we do that, as I think Monica said, the more that you practice, the more it comes second nature to you. It's actually very difficult for me right now to hold on to a grievance for a really long time. I was estranged from my sister for 8 years, and I was estranged from a friend, a very, very dear friend, for 3 years. So now it becomes more like maybe days or hours, or sometimes minutes, or sometimes it's immediate. But practicing forgiveness like that, why does that create a holy relationship? Because it shifts you in the moment. It's the holy instant. It shifts you from fear to love. The mechanism that it does that by is it takes you from being up in a perception of being separate from the person, and then thinking that they did something to you or are not doing something that they should be doing, and shifts it to where they're you. And so you remember that there's nothing to forgive because you're me and I'm you. And so how could I have a grievance? It's like having a grievance with myself. It's over the same thing. And so it's the same principle when you say the namaste prayer to someone. The light in me honors the light in you, because the light in you and the light in me is the same light. And when we lose sight of that, when we forget that we are not separate, and we forget that we are not all one Son of God, and we forget that we are not all connected to God, and that is the ocean that we are all waves in, that's the sun that we're all rays emanating from. When we forget that, and as the Course in Miracles says, the ego mind believes in its arrogance that it is not a ray of the sun, but that it is the sun. And so we start to believe that we're all these suns, kind of like our solar system, all like doing battle with each other, and that we start to believe, when we believe we're separate, then we can't see that. We can't see that connection. And so the relationships can't be holy. Irene? Oh, wait, can you use a microphone?
I think the hardest part about what you're saying, and you're saying it really well, is separating behavior from the light that we are. Mm-hmm. Because my insanity gets really wrapped up in the behavior of others, my behavior, their behavior. So the behavior dance, there's no recognition of the light.
Yeah.
And I saw that a lot with some clients this Christmas season, but I see it every year. It's the same thing. Mm-hmm. we have this Hallmark card of like how we think holidays are supposed to look. And if we can't get everybody in line to get in the picture, then it must be a bad holiday,
Uh-huh.
you know, because the
Great.
people got older, people died, people move away, people don't like you, people don't celebrate Christmas, blah, 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 blah. But that doesn't look like the card.
Yeah.
So all the behavior doesn't line up. So then everybody goes crazy.
Yeah.
And that has nothing to do with the light that people are. And there's this other sentence or this thought from Al-Anon that says, I can love you, but I don't accept unacceptable behavior.
Mhm.
I remember you're not your behavior, and I don't accept unacceptable behavior.
Exactly.
It doesn't mean I have to line up for you to punch me.
No.
It just means I know you're a child of God, and I'm going to step away.
Yes.
And I'm not going to bring you into my holiday picture. I may not even take a holiday picture.
Right.
Thank
Thank you, Irene.
No.
Well, I just want to add to that as a teacher of God, as a minister, and as knowing the truth in yourself, you can take advantage of that picture that's not lining up. You can take advantage of situations that occur out there, and you can pause just in that same holy instant for that situation, and you can heal it in the one mind that we share. You can actually be an ambassador. You can help your brother or your sister. They will have a healing experience if you remember the truth in that moment that they are. And that heals the whole sonship. So that's really where we're on call all the time. We're physicians of the Lord. Yeah.
Right on. Thank you. You can keep that. I love what both of you said, and that that's absolutely true. That it's practicing forgiveness, which helps us to remember the light in the other person. We don't have to love the behavior. The behavior is often of the ego mind, right? But as one of you said before earlier, I think it was you, Bill, that our behavior that we're seeing in another person is just a reflection of the thoughts that we're harboring in our own mind anyway, because we're all one mind. It's just, it's sort of a circular, it keeps coming back to the same thing. So when we see behavior in another person, yeah, we don't have to accept it in terms of, we don't have to stay in it. And as you said, Irene, be punched, but at the same time, being able to understand that I'm seeing that in my life in the first place because it's reflective of unhealed, unconscious guilt that is in my mind already. And so just taking responsibility for that, practicing forgiveness, that's why it's so important to say, I'm forgiving myself. I'm forgiving myself for believing this dream. It's not just I forgive you. Like the old paradigm of forgiveness is I forgive you for what you did because it was bad and you're guilty, but I'm a better person. And so I'm going to rise above it, but you're still guilty and I'm not. And so and I'm better than you, right? Because I'm holy. That's what makes up the relationship holy, is me. And so the actual version of forgiveness is, no, I'm forgiving myself for believing that happened in the first place, for believing that you did anything, and believing that this ever transpired, and for believing that you or me are anything but God's holy son, one son that we all are. And so if we're all the same son, then there is no conflict and there's no possibility of conflict if we can see it like that. So changing in that instant from fear to love, the holy instant, practicing forgiveness is what makes our relationships with each other holy. And as we do that, we heal our own minds and we heal our perceptions about ourselves. So we heal our relationship with ourselves. And as we do that, we remember that we are part of God, that we are never separate. And so we heal the relationship that we may have strayed away from with God. And so that is, in this year, that's what I'm tasking us all with, to go into 2018 with making all of our relationships holy, our relationship with God, our relationship with ourselves, and our relationship with our brothers. And so now I want to, are we able to do the little toast? Yeah? So we have some non-alcoholic champagne that we're going to pop open over there. And we're going to do a toast to the new year while our live streamers, you can grab your glass, take a moment, and we're going to pass around a little bit of this. And while we're doing that, I'm going to just share with you the conversation that I suggest that you have with God in the morning or at night. And this is attached to my blog in PDF form as well. To start your every day in 2018 with the relationship with God, the relationship with yourself, and then going out into the world as a relationship with your brothers. And so it goes like this. Holy Spirit, I surrender this day to you. I ask you to make all my decisions and choices for me today. I ask you to guide my thoughts, my perceptions, my intentions, and my actions. Please speak your words through me. Help me to hear with your understanding and see with your vision. I step back and let you lead the way. Please help me to be in a consciousness of non-judgment, of total trust in you, of complete joy and abundance, of deep gratitude, and of acceptance of what is. Thank you for making all my relationships holy. For helping me to recognize the holiness in every encounter and see the face of Christ in every brother. I remember that I'm here only to be truly helpful, that I am here to represent you who sent me, that I do not have to worry about what to say or what to do, because you who sent me will direct me. And I am content to be wherever you wish, knowing you go there with me. And I will be healed as I let you teach me to heal. Amen. So I would like to propose a toast from us to God, from us to our brothers, who is also God, from us to ourselves, who is also God, that we are able to that we work at making all of our relationships holy, that we don't really have to work at making our relationships holy, that we work at removing the obstacles to our awareness of love's presence, which is our natural inheritance. And if we do that, we'll make all of our relationships holy. So I hold you all in my heart, and I hold the light of you in my mind, as all of my brothers are one with me. And I wish you the most blessed of New Year's. You're here. Thank you. Amen.
Click, click.
Happy New Year. So if we could pray, if everybody wants to come up and make a circle.
I want to say something.
Yes. Would you like to pray us out too? Okay.
Andy wanted to say something.
Hey, live streamers, everyone, I wanted to say something. Let's make forgiveness, the word forgiveness, the new F-bomb for 2018.
I love it. Woohoo! We were like, oh, forgiveness.
Yeah. You're authorized. This is the G-rated authorization by Andy Kimball. Andy is Bonnie's husband. He's awesome. We love him. You guys that are new to the live streaming haven't seen Andy teach, but he's amazing. He's totally raw, and he also has he's filled with light. We love you, Andy.
He's on YouTube.
Oh, he's on YouTube. Right.
Those videos.
Cool.
Can you turn it off?
Let me turn it off.
Okay. Okay, so as we take a deep breath and we prepare to enter the new year, and I am going to suggest to everybody that you do some kind of ritual to release this old year and the energy of it, and to welcome in the new year. Whether you attend a burning bowl ceremony or a white stone ceremony at Unity on the River, or whether you do the ritual that I had attached to my blog this week, or whether you do something on your own, where you acknowledge what has transpired in 2017 and what no longer serves you, and you welcome in with open arms what is yours to do in 2018, what you want to cultivate, what you want to grow within yourself, how you want to extend yourself, how you want to make your relationships holy, and how you want to serve your Creator and your brothers this year. Spirit, thank you so much for being with us today, for bringing all of these wonderful, wonderful brothers together, all of these souls, all of our live streamers, our beloved community. We know that everyone that was meant to be here today is here. You bring us all together. We are all one, and we are in your light together. We are rays that make up your sun. We are the waves that make up the ocean that is you. And we thank you so much for creating us to be in your image, to be exactly like you. Thank you very much. Amen.
Amen. Amen.
Thank you, live streamers.
Thank you, live streamers. We're going to give the blessing to the tithes and offerings, and it goes like divine love as me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Thank you all. Thank you, live streamers. Next week, Kimberly Cartwright will be in the house, and Love in Action Ministries. So join us next week for Kimberly Cartwright. And I think Monica Dubé is going to be here on the 12th of January. So we'll see you guys next week.
Happy
Bye-bye.
New Year.
Happy New Year.